The thing I love most about Donald Trump's lawyers is that every week, one of these lawyers outdoes a previous lawyer, sometimes even themselves, in saying some of the dumbest things you've ever heard a lawyer say in the history of the United States. This week, of course, that distinction goes to Christina Bobb. Christina Bobb went on Real America's Voice this week and accidentally may have implied that Donald Trump could be, in fact, guilty of an insurrection, but she says that's up for the voters to decide, not the courts. I'm going to read you her quote in a minute. Actually, let me just get it out of the way. Here is what Christina Bobb said on Real America's Voice. The president is elected by the entire nation, and it should be the entire nation who determines who they want for president, whether they're guilty of insurrection or not. It's up to the people. Whether they're guilty of insurrection or not, right? What's a little insurrection between voters and politicians, right? So what she is implying, as I said, one is that, hey, maybe he did it, maybe he didn't. What am I, the guy's lawyer? Yeah, you are. You're supposed to be out there saying, no, he didn't do it. I don't care if you're not representing him in this specific, legal area. As one of his other lawyers, you still have to be like, no, he didn't do it. He did not do what they say he did. Instead, you're like, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. That's not for me to decide. It's also, as she says, not necessarily for the courts to decide. Now, she didn't say it, but she implied it by saying it's for the voters to decide. No, actually, Christina, as somebody who went to law school, who passed the bar, who has, I'm assuming, tried cases, you actually should understand that, no, this is literally something for the courts to decide. It is in the United States Constitution, Section 3, Article 14. I'm sure everybody knows that by heart by now. That's literally for the law to decide, not the voters. Here's why. This clause was added to the United States Constitution, right? Obviously, it happened after the Civil War when we did have the country break apart into two separate countries for a bit. And they put that amendment in there, along with several others, obviously, because they knew they had to bar these people from holding office. Not because they thought, oh, don't worry, the voters are going to take care of them. And in fact, it was the opposite. They knew that these people from these southern states who did engage in insurrection by pulling out of the country and then waging war against it, that those people in those states still agreed with those politicians that would be running for office in the future. And we don't want those people running for office. We cannot trust the voters to make these decisions, so we have to put it in the law, in the Constitution itself, to prevent that from happening. The voters were not trusted in the 1860s, and the voters should not be trusted in the 2020s. 160 some odd years later, actually a little under 160, whatever. It's the same situation. We have ill-informed voters. We have voters with ill intent who will put somebody up even if they came out and said, I engaged in an insurrection and I'll do it again. There's millions of people in this country who would say, yes, I will put that person in office. The 14th Amendment, Section 3, protects us from that, Christina. So no, it's not up for the voters to decide. It was put in our Constitution itself because the voters could not be trusted. But thanks again for not necessarily denying that Trump engaged in an insurrection, just simply saying maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Let's let the idiot voters decide. No, we took care of that over a century ago because voters cannot be trusted to make smart decisions. Hi, everyone. This here is little Athena. And Athena would like to know why you haven't subscribed to Fair and Balanced yet. So please, don't let Athena down. Subscribe today.